بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
O Allah, help us learn what is beneficial to us. Help us benefit from what you have enabled us to learn and increase our knowledge. Welcome to Quranic Arabic course from Al Quran Institute, London. Alhamdulillah. Earlier we have studied lesson 34 and we have learned about Naib Fa'il. Today we shall learn about phases of Mudario and how they change. Before we start, one humble request to you. Al Quran Institute is a Quranic Da'wah and educational institute. We would like to reach many others like you, so your assistance is greatly appreciated. If you benefit from our videos, please like and subscribe our YouTube channel. Jazakallahu khairan. We have studied past tense and present tense verb, Madi and Mudario, in earlier lessons. We know that Madi verbs are mabni, and it means they are unchangeable. We know that fa kalima and lam kalima of Madi verb will always have fatah, but the middle ain kalima can be variable. This position of Madi verb never changes under any circumstances. But in case of a Mudario verb, it goes through changes in the connotations and i'rab or its status of the verb. In this chapter, we shall learn how these changes occur, inshallah. Fa'ala yaf'alu. Fa'ala is Madi, yaf'alu is Mudario. As per the rules of Mudario verb, there will be an alamat mudari as a prefix for the Mudario verb. This is important. Please note that all Mudario verb are marfu by default. Marfu means it will carry dhamma on the harakat of the last letter. So here, yaf'alu, that is the default status of a Mudario. This will vary. This will change according to different circumstances, which we shall be discussing inshallah. In one of the earlier lessons, we learned the different status of i'rab, which is dictated by the haraka on the last letter. If haraka on the last letter is dhamma, then the status or i'rab is called marfu'un, in short marfu. Even shorter is Rafa. We also learned when the haraka on the last letter is fatah, then the i'rab or status is called mansubun, in short mansub, or even shorter nasab. Since we are discussing the fi'il or verb, in this case, the third category we will be looking at is mazzumun. When the haraka on the last letter is sukun or zazim, then the i'rab or status is called mazzumun, or in short, zazim. Let's see how this works. So representing huwa, the Mudario is yaf'alu, and that is the default form. That is the original form, and the original form is in marfu status. However, due to some circumstances which we will be discussing later, this default status with marfu can change to mansub ending with fatah. So yaf'alu can become yaf'ala. It means it will take the status of mansub or nasab by taking fatah on the last letter. Similarly, yaf'alu, yaf'ala, this can change to yaf'al, making it mazzumun status, or in short, zazim status, by taking a sukun on the last letter. So yaf'alu can become yaf'al. Please pay attention. We're looking at the next row, which is huma. Huma yaf'alani. It means two people do or will do. And we will see yaf'alani is marfu status. But when for some reason it has to change to mansub status, then see what happens. Yaf'alani becomes yaf'ala. Noon has dropped. To become mansub, the noon of the Mudario has to drop. So yaf'alani has become yaf'ala. Similarly, when for some reason it has to take sukun at the end, yaf'alani will also drop noon to make it mazzum status or zazim status. Let's look at the next row. Hum yaf'aluna. They all do or will do. So yaf'aluna is a marfu status. For some reason when it, can you see, like the previous one, here also noon with fatah has dropped to make it yaf'alu. When nun has dropped, waw is remaining with a sukun. A word cannot sustain with sukun ending. After waw sukun, alif has been added under the mansub status. So yaf'aluna has become yaf'alu. For some reason, if the marfu status verb yaf'aluna has to change to mazum or jazm status, then similarly the nun fatha will drop to make it yaf'alu. And in the same way, alif is coming to just give support to the waw sukun. So that's how it works. We'll learn more as we go along, inshallah. I shall quickly go through this chart covering all the 14 different types of conjugation. Marfu, mansub, mazum. See the change. Yaf'alu, yaf'ala, yaf'al. Yaf'alane, yaf'ala, yaf'ala. Yaf'aluna, yaf'alu, yaf'alu. Taf'alu, taf'ala, taf'al. Taf'alane, taf'ala, taf'ala. Please note, the same pattern will follow on all the 14 conjugations except for hunna and antunna. These two will not go through any changes. Hunna, yaf'alna, yaf'alna, yaf'alna will remain same for marfu, mansub and mazum status. Similarly, antunna, number 10, antunna, taf'alna, taf'alna, taf'alna. So I'll just continue reading through the list. Hunna, yaf'alna, yaf'alna, yaf'alna. Anta taf'alu, taf'ala, taf'al. Antuma taf'alani, taf'ala, taf'ala. Antum taf'aluna, taf'alu, taf'alu. Anti taf'alina, taf'ali, taf'ali. Similarly, nun fatha has dropped. Antuma taf'alani, taf'ala, taf'ala. Anti taf'alina, taf'ali, taf'ali. Similarly, nun fatha has dropped for mansub and mazum status. Antuma taf'alani, taf'ala, taf'ala. Antunna taf'alna, taf'alna, taf'alna. Ana af'alu, af'ala, af'al. Nahnu naf'alu, naf'ala, naf'al. I hope that is clear. Please pay a very special attention here. We said for different reasons these faces of Mudario can change from marfu to mansub or mazum. So we shall learn under what circumstance these faces can change. Yaf'alu, yaf'al. When lam and lamma joins a Mudario, it makes the Mudario verb mazum. When the verb is amr or lamu amr or imperative, then the face will change from marfu into mazum. When the verb is lamu nahi, which means prohibition, then the face will change from marfu into mazum. On the last row, there are 6 harf or particle. The first 3 is in, man, ma. They are conditional particle, harful shart. And finally, the last 3 particles or harf are li, wal, fal. They will give the meaning should or let. So what we need to do here, we need to memorize this chart. When the verb is amr or lamu amr or imperative, then the face will change from marfu into mazum. When the verb is lamu nahi, which means prohibition, then the face will change from marfu into mazum. On the last row, there are 6 harf or particle. The first 3 is in, man, ma. They are conditional particle, harful shart. And finally, the last 3 particles or harf are li, wal, fal. They will give the meaning should or let. So what we need to do here, we need to memorize this chart. Why should we memorize this? Because under these circumstances, the Mudario marfu changes into Mudario mazum. For example, lam, lamma, in, man, ma, li, wal, fal, if they appear before a Mudario with those meanings, they will make the Mudario marfu into Mudario mazum with sukun. And this will be very useful when we will be reading Qur'an, inshallah. At this stage, you do not need to remember the meaning, but all these names you need to memorize. Different people will memorize it in different way. The way I memorized it, and I can always remember this, alhamdulillah. Amr, Lamu Amr, I call them as a singular name, Amr, because they are both Amr. And Lamun Nahi, the short name is Nahi. So I said, Lam Lamma Amr Nahi, in man ma li wal fal. So our objective is to just memorize this at this stage. We'll know these meanings and we'll see many instances. The meaning will not be an issue. Lam lamma amar nahi in man ma li wal fal. Lam lamma amar nahi in man ma li wal fal. Lam lamma amar nahi in man ma li wal fal. Lam lamma amr nahi in man ma li wal fal. If you keep repeating it this way for 5, 10, 20 times, alhamdulillah, you will memorize it. Alhamdulillah, we have just studied the reasons why a Mudario marfu can change into majzum status. Now we are looking at the circumstances when a Mudario verb changes from marfu into mansub. Yaf'alu becomes yaf'ala, with fatha at the end. All we need to do at this stage, just memorize these 7 particles or harf. The meanings are there. Even if you forget the meaning, it's okay. But you need to really memorize these 7 particles, which makes Mudari marfu into Mudari mansub. So let's just go to the particles. An, lan, hatta, izan, alla, kai, likai. So, like the previous one, we need to just memorize these 7 together. They're harfu nasiba, means the harf which makes Mudari marfu into Mudari mansub. Mansub in short is called nasiba, it's called nasab. So let's memorize it. An lan hatta izan alla kai likai. This is how you will memorize. An lan hatta izan alla kai likai. An lan hatta izan alla kai likai. An lan hatta izan alla kai likai. If you repeat this process for 10, 15, 20 times and write it down on a piece of paper, this will be out of the way, inshallah. In our previous lesson about amor formation, we learned how amor formation works. Amor means imperative verb making order, command, or request. And amor only applies to second person because you need to order somebody who is present here, which is second person, hazir. So, anta taf'alu, we learned how to convert this taf'alu into amor form, which is if'al. I'll just quickly repeat that. We shall be forming amor from taftahu. So, the first rule is drop the alamati mudari. As you remember, all the prefixes for fi'l mudari are identified by the 4 characters, and they are a, ta, ya, na, ataina. So, taftahu, ta is the alamote mudario, a mudario verb. To make amor, this alamote mudari needs to be deleted. So, when the ta is removed from taftahu, now we have got in step 1, fa with sukun, ta with fatha, and hu with dhamma. But a word cannot start with a letter with sukun. So, this needs to be sorted. We have to add an alif, and that is hamzatul wasl. So in step 2 we got alif hamzatul wasl. Everything else remains same in step 2. Only thing we added is brought alif to make the sentence start reading. We have to do something else to make it work, because alif doesn't have any haraka there. It doesn't have fatha, it doesn't have kasra, it doesn't have dhamma. Without that, obviously the word is not correct. So we have to find a haraka. And there is a rule for which haraka will come with the alif. And the rule is this. If you look at the text here, it says, if ain kalima has a fatha or kasra, then alif will take kasra. If ain kalima has a dhamma, then alif will have dhamma. So we have to now look at what is ain kalima. The original word is fataha. So fa is fa kalima, ta is ain kalima, ha is lam kalima. So our rule says, if the ain kalima has got fatha or kasra, then alif will have kasra. If the ain kalima has got dhamma, then alif will have dhamma. So for formation of amor, we can have only kasra on alif or dhamma on alif. We cannot have fatah on the hamzatul wasl. Ain kalima ta has got fatah, therefore alif will have a kasra here. So now on step 3, we have got iftahu. Let's look at the final step, step 4. Our rule says lam kalima must have a sukun, taftahu. But according to our rule, lam kalima will have sukun. We have omitted the dhamma and it has become ha with sukun. So the word is now called iftah. So the meaning now stands like this. Fataha means he opened. Taftahu means you open or you will open. But when it is finally formed amor, it means open. Iftah means open. You open. It's an order, it's a request, it's a command. Iftah. So amor normally looks like that. Let's go back to our previous chart. We have learned how the Mudario faces changes from marfu into majzum when the particles or harf like lam, lamma, in, man, ma, li, wal, fal, they appear before the Mudario. We also learned that Mudario verb, when it changes to amor form for imperative meaning like order, request, then this also gives sukun at the end of the verb, making it mazum. Let's now look at the functionality of lamu amr. If we want to address someone who is not here, the third person, what would you say? As we know, amr makes the last letter sukun. So for lamu amr, the same rule applies. Just li is added with yaf'al. Please note, amr means direct order. Lamu amr means indirect order to someone who is not present here. Third person or first person. And the meaning is should or let. Amr, do it, means you do. Lamu amr, to a third person who is not present here, you will say he should do, which is indirect, or let him do. In order to remember lamu amr, please note that only li is added before yafal. So it will be li yafal. Think about li for let. If you remember li for L, which is representing let, then it's easy to remember. So yafal has become li yafal, yaf'ala has become li yaf'ala, yaf'alu has become li yaf'alu, taf'al has become li taf'al, taf'ala has become li taf'ala, yaf'alna has become li yaf'alna. Let's look at the last column. This is about prohibitions. Amr, lamu amr was imperative, order, request. But this is now prohibition, stopping. It means don't do it. Let's look at la nahi. Again, it will apply to someone who is present here, the second person. Let's look at the red text here. If al means do, you do. For nahi, we shall add la and then we will say taf'al. This ta is from anta. To distinguish, we are asking the person who is in front of you. La taf'al means you don't do. La taf'ala means you too don't do. La taf'alu means you all don't do. La taf'ali means you female don't do. La taf'ala means you two female don't do. La taf'alna means you all female don't do. That's for second person. So I will repeat it. La taf'al, la taf'ala, la taf'alu, la taf'ali, la taf'ala, la taf'alna. Similarly, for the third person who is not present here, the negative command should work like this. La yaf'al. It means he or they should not do, or let him or let them don't do. So all the 6 conjugation for la nahi in case of third person should act like this. La yaf'al, la yaf'ala, la yaf'alu, la taf'al, la taf'ala, la taf'alna. This chart needs some practicing. Please write it down on paper and try to understand the differences and how the Mudario changes from marfu status to mansub status and from marfu status to mazum status, and how the amor formation works, lamu amor works, and la nahi works. Inshallah, it will be easier as we go along. Alhamdulillah, we have reached the end of this lesson. I hope you found it helpful. Please repeat watching this video a few more times and study the PDF file together. Our next lesson topic is verb form 1, inshallah. One request before you go. Al-Quran Institute is a Quranic Da'wah and educational institute. We would like to reach others like you. So if you benefited from this video, please share with others, but most importantly, please subscribe our channel and like the videos. Don't forget to watch other video series on Quranic Arabic course. Barakallahu fikum. Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas samiul alim. Amin ya rabbal alamin.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.